We've had a long journey in our tenure as entrepreneurs, and we'd like to discuss with y'all some of the things that we thought when we began would be reality, and now what we know as long-standing and everlasting entrepreneurs.
We can go a lot of ways with this, actually, because I keep thinking of things that pop into my head. But let's start with this. Yeah, so
Okay.
not that. But let's start with this, because everyone thinks, okay, if I'm going to be an entrepreneur, I'm just going to make an exorbitant amount of money right a fucking way, right? And to me, I could be wrong here, but I say unless you're doing something like OnlyFans or some shit like that, then clearly you're probably not watching our podcast. You don't need our podcast. You're just selling yourself. But if you want to get largely rich, you want to have a very lucrative business, it's going to take a larger plan. And with that larger plan, with that more laid out, detailed plan, there's probably a longer pathway or a longer runway from $0 to a lot of dollars, right? And a lot of people think that pathway or that airstrip is going to be quick. It's going to be short. I just had a great idea that just popped in my head. I'm just going to do it right away, no planning, no thought, and I'm going to start making a lot of money right away.
People are going to pay me.
Well, I'll tell you what. We came up with a good plan for all of our businesses, more than the average person, and the pathway to money wasn't as simple as what you thought it would be. Unless you're selling like fucking chips at a school or some shit, the pathway to you making a large amount of money, because even then you're not, but the pathway is going to be very long before you start making the money that you think that you're going to make. Because we're so used to seeing everyone on social media thinking that everything happened so fast, happened so quickly. This person came out of nowhere and was an overnight success and started making all this fucking money. No, that's not how it's going to fucking work. So that's one of the things that, I'm not going to say that we thought that, but I will say that we thought that on a multitude of occasions where it was like, shit, we're going to start making money relatively quickly, and not relatively quickly as in like fucking days, weeks, months, but like just relatively quickly. And we were mistaken because of multiple factors. And that's another thing too. You really don't know all the fucking factors, all the little intricacies of business and entrepreneurship until you get in it. And it's like every day, every week, you find something out that you didn't know before that impacts your business and impacts how you make money or how you can make money. And that changes everything about how you planned on approaching something. And that's something that we definitely didn't realize, because no one really would realize it until you're in it on the everyday and you're like, oh shit, I need this. Oh shit, I have to file this. Oh shit, I have to do, yes. You have to do all that, and all these things you wouldn't find out until you start getting in the process of becoming an entrepreneur. So I'll stop there. I'll let you share something.
Yeah, because we got pretty big and passionate lists going on here.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, what I think is funny is that being an entrepreneur is something that's cool nowadays. It's very in. It's like you're a maverick. You do everything on your own. Everybody glorifies you. They're like, yeah, go do your thing. People who you don't give a shit about somehow magically support you being an entrepreneur, because they're, to a degree, they're thinking, oh, they're going to do what I don't want to do. But they're also like, get the fuck away from me, go crash and fail. Because to a degree, they know that. But what I find is funny is people will encourage you to do these things that they won't do and that they don't have an understanding of. Like, I can't tell you how many people have tried to coach us on business when they don't have a business or they don't have a successful business. You're not qualified to discuss with anybody anything if you haven't achieved it yourself. Now, you might be very logical and you might be very reasonable and you might be on to something positive, but the fact of the matter remains is you're not a domain expert. Your words hold no weight. You don't have unequivocal evidence that what you say is true. You can speak out your ass, but you haven't done it. And so one of the biggest things that I've learned is you can't take other people's expectations as your reality. Because a lot of times, expectations and reality do not align at all, especially as an entrepreneur. You might go into a certain business expecting a particular outcome and then come out with a completely different business model that doesn't even fall within the same domain. And you took a lesson while you took an L and turned it into a W somewhere else. And I'll give you an example of this. I met a gentleman earlier last year, midway through last year, and we were at a cafe. And he was telling me about his business, which was essentially they were backing up data on Facebook. And it was an automated process for business chats so that if something happened, for some reason, if your Facebook account got banned, deleted, or whatever, what have you, if there's an outage with Facebook, you would still keep all your business chats, all your information, and all your network. Well, he didn't predict this, but they ended up turning into a data sales company because Facebook has so many attributes that they collect from their users that people were wanting to buy the backup data that they had stored in their database. He came in as a storage and security expert and left as a data engineer and data sales rep. Completely blindsided, but he had to adapt because he was saying, look, the money's coming this way. In our NDA, when you sign up to use the software, we have access to all your data. And we have a great business opportunity. If you go into any endeavor very rigid, and mind you, this is something that is a lesson that we learn through entrepreneurship as well. When you go into any endeavor, if you come in with a rigid mind and you're unflexible, you will crash and you will break. You won't be able to adapt to the waves as they hit you, and you won't be able to come and go based on how the money is flowing and where the trends are, because you're so stuck in your ways that you won't succeed. Especially nowadays when things move so fast, we have to adapt rapidly. Why do you think there's these huge layoffs? Why do you think that there's talks about Google being replaced by ChatGPT and more people use social media as search engines than actual search engines? It's slowly evolving, and if these companies don't evolve, they'll sink. And that's one thing that we've definitely learned. Learn to be adaptive.
Exactly. And in my opinion, you also have to learn how to adapt to, well, not necessarily adapt. I think, let me tackle it from this angle. I think you have to realize the importance of barriers to entry. And that's something a lot of people don't think about when they start a business. They start a business just because they thought about it in their head. And they're like, oh, yeah, I'm going to tackle it, right? But it's all offense to them. All I have to score the ball. All I have to put points up. But in almost every single game, if not every single game, you have to realize that there's offense and there's defense. And in order to win a game, in order to win the championship, you need both. And to be honest, some have even modeled their game or their plan of attack based off their defense more than their offense and have won championships. People like to say that defense wins championships. And to a certain extent, I do agree with that. And that's also true in business as well. Because we're having a conversation with this multimillionaire businessman, great guy, really cool guy. And we were telling him about our business and what we do. And we were explaining the process of the, supply chain, how we have certain things over here, how we have certain things over there, the people that we know, and, how they're relatively low key and not a lot of people know about them. And we like to keep our relationships kind of close knit, and we don't necessarily like to, divulge that information with everybody so that, everyone doesn't get the secret sauce to how we produce what we produce and all this shit. And a long process of how we do and get everything, all that, right? And the whole time in the conversation, he repeated it. He was like, wow, I really like this business model you guys have. This has a very, large barrier to entry. And he said it multiple times. And this was something we kind of thought about before, but he really made me realize it personally, where it's really important for us to have this business like that, because business and entrepreneurship can be very lucrative, but it has a large moat between everyone else and the people who actually fucking succeed. So have y'all seen like a castle before, and you know how it has that fucking moat? It's called a moat, where the water is between the fucking land on this side and the castle on this side, and it has a bridge. If you pick up that bridge, you can't get over the fucking moat. That's how a successful business is normally set up as well. There's the regular people over here that may want to start a business or may want to be an entrepreneur and take on this business model or business plan that you have or that they have. Then there's the successful people over here with their successful businesses. In order to succeed in this business, it also helps if you have a very large fucking moat, a very large barrier to entry, because that means that people can't replicate what you've done. People can't replicate your product and how you were able to produce it the way that you produced it. And a big thing for me, I feel like, is realizing that in order to succeed, you also have to ward off the lazy people. And some people might be lazy. I don't know if you're lazy on here looking at this podcast, but you have to ward off the lazy people, because if you have so many fucking barriers to go through, you know what that fucking means for the majority of people. They may make it past the first one. They may make it past the second one. The third one, it gets a little hard. The fourth one is like, shit. The fifth one, they quit. So the more of those barriers you have in between your business and people, the harder it is for them to do what you do. And we've encountered so many fucking barriers to entry on this journey that a lot of people fucking would have given up on, whether it's networking with the right people, laws, legalities, permits, licenses, supply chain, import, just all the taxes, every fucking thing.
Don't forget just people.
People in general. Every fucking thing that you could imagine, all these fucking things that would normally deter most people. If you get by those things, if you figure out how to solve those things, to me, life on the other side where the castle is actually not that bad. You just have to get through the shitty ass part and the complex things that most people don't understand or don't take the time to learn how to understand. But once you do that, you know how to maneuver and you know how to operate on this side. It's a lot easier. It's just getting past that moat, getting through those barriers is the hardest part. But I'd say that's a crucial part to entrepreneurship and learning how to deal with that, but also learning how to structure your business in order for it to have multiple barriers to entry to ward off those lazy people.
I think one of the biggest things we've learned too is that entrepreneurship is a game of endurance.
Right.
A lot of people like to take things as a sprint. Everybody wants to get rich quick. Everybody wants to get acumen and success quick. Everybody wants to be acknowledged for their hard work. They want to say, hey, look at me. I'm a successful entrepreneur. I'm a business owner, yada, 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 yada. But that couldn't be any further from reality. That expectation of I'm going to get rich quick, I'm going to succeed within the first year. If you are thinking that, you need to get rid of that right away, or you need to get out of the race altogether, because when you hit reality, you are going to crash and you may never recover from that crash. You might just terminate your entire career as an entrepreneur or a business owner because you go all in on an endeavor and truly expecting it to work in a short period of time. And then you realize, shit, this is going to take 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 years to succeed. And then you start realizing, wow, it took all of my mentors or all of the people that I'm meeting 10 to 20 years to even see a profit. How the hell did I expect it to come in 1 year? And you realize You took it as a sprint, but it was a marathon. You didn't pace yourself. You drained all your bank accounts. You didn't sleep at all. You didn't take care of your health. You didn't curate your networks. You didn't help and your environment flourish in a way that was conducive for your long-term success. It's funny because we built our network over the course of our entrepreneurship or entrepreneur careers as entrepreneurs to the point where we effectively don't have to add to the network to currently do what we're looking to do within the next 2 years. Now, 3, 4, 5 years, yes, we'll need to add to our network. However, we're doing that now so that when we get to that point in time, we've already laid the foundation. And Bedros Keuilian says this very well. He says, if your short-term goals are any less than 5 years and your long-term goals are any less than 10, you need to reset your expectations. Because some people think in days, some people think in weeks, and some people think in months. But you will always lose to the person that thinks in years or in decades, because that's the difference between a tactician and a strategist. A tactician is a person who thinks, how do I win the war? A strategist thinks, how do I win the battle? And although it's true that you need to win battles in order to win the war, you can still win the war after losing the majority of battles because you won the key battles. That's the most important part. And as we like to say, a win is nothing more and nothing less than an accumulation of sufficient losses to the point in which you win.
There you go. And if you all don't know this, Jose and I aren't the most, I don't want to say we're not the most friendly, but I'm not going to say we don't necessarily like everyone. Like there's certain people out there that would like to socialize and be around everyone and they just love everyone. I don't think that's us. So when we first tackled entrepreneurship, we were like, shit, man, we're going to do this all by ourselves. Fuck everybody else, right? And to a certain extent, still agree with that. However, we've really started to realize the importance of relationships and networks as time progressed. Because, yes, you can do shit by yourself. However, the time that it takes to do that could potentially be more of a waste of time than you using your time to the best of your abilities, right? So something that could take you 20 years could take you 5 years with the right people, with the right network around you, and could be more lucrative with the right people and right network around you. So this is something that Jose and I just recently talked about, where at a young age, I didn't understand it. I didn't like it that my parents would force me to go to these events and force me to meet these people. Because I'm not a social ass person. I don't naturally like it. But as I matured and got older, I realized the importance of it because it helped me get certain things. It helped me acquire certain things, jobs, achievements, goals, scholarships, things of that nature, where I wouldn't have been able to do so, or it would have been a lot harder for me to do so if I didn't have those relationships. So now that we are more mature with our thinking, we like to go out with the intention on socializing and networking, of course, with the right people, because we know how important it can be to our careers and whatnot. And I know a lot of you are probably thinking, well, that's cool and whatever, but I don't know where to find these people. I don't even think they exist. These people, they just don't exist where I'm from. No. These people are there. And there are people that are there that are willing to be helpful and willing to be mentors to you. They're probably just hidden or in a place that is not easily accessible to losers. I'll just put it that way, right? So you can't go to, let's just say, a movie theater, a rundown movie theater, expecting to meet the fucking person that's going to change your life monetarily. Could it happen? Sure. Is it likely to happen? Probably fucking not.
They have their own movie theater.
Exactly. You know where you can go where, I'm not going to lie, our shooting percentage as far as meeting people that could be very helpful to us.
Pretty high.
Pretty high. The fucking golf club, country clubs, things of that nature where you can go there and the people there, that barrier to entry I was talking about, there's such a large monetary barrier to entry to become a member of that place that if you're there, more than likely you're successful in some capacity or you're related to somebody who's successful in some capacity, right? So when we have gone there almost every single time, we've walked away with business cards, with people that we now still talk to, networks, money, some instances, like the possibilities and opportunities are endless, but we just had to find the right place to go. So if you're thinking, again, oh, I can't find any of these people, blah, 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 switch up your area, switch up your location. We've talked about this before. You know, location is so crucial to your success because you can't try to look for fucking gold in a desert. You know, is it possible? Sure. But is that probably the right place where you're going to fucking find it? Probably not. So surround yourself with the right people. Go to where those people are at, where you think rich people would reside. Go there. Dress up. Look like you have some shit to your name. And people might perceive you as having some shit to your name and be willing to share some information, network with you, and potentially be mentors to you as well. So the importance of relationships and networking is something that we thought was, you know, we needed at the beginning, but now we realize that it's something very, very crucial to our success and why we have gotten to the point where we are today.
And I want to close off with this. Don't take our word for it. Go experience it for yourself. Because sometimes you need to learn things through practice. There is a lot of things that you won't ever understand until you learn it through the pain. Because I truly believe that we as humans, not just you and me, but us as a collective, really learn best when there's pain on the opposite side. And that is the best instructor. I think people can talk all they want to. And they can try to lecture you, and they can try to get through your thick skull and teach you things. But, now this is a spin on the saying. An experience is worth 1,000 words, rather than saying a picture is worth 1,000 words. If you actually witness what people have been trying to tell you, what your parents have been trying to tell you, what your mentors have been trying to show you, if you experience that in real time, everything clicks. It makes sense. Magically, everything happens exactly, almost exactly like the cliches or how people have been telling you. If we would have listened to how our parents tell us that we should have networked or that we should have talked with certain people or we should have prepared for certain instances rather than saying, oh, what do you know? Or not believing them, we would be in a much better situation now. However, you have to look at the positive. Now we know for a fact that we have to be more careful when we are trying to reject a notion or say no to whatever anybody else is thinking without first fact checking it and thinking about it logically rather than trying to think that we know it all. So you have something here.
Oh, so I definitely like to say this, but a book only does so much. A book will only get you so far. We've read plenty of books. Jose has definitely read a lot of books. And yes, some of the words in there have allowed us to have some initial idea of what could happen, right? but you don't understand it in its truest and purest form until it happens to you. You can read a book about how to negotiate all day, but when you have to sit in that room and that pressure hits you, all that shit that you read in that book is probably gonna go like, oh fuck, what was that word that they use? What should I do? What's the method that I should use? It all goes out the fucking window. But you really learn, you really understand, you really comprehend when you actually do the thing. And we've talked about this quote before, but the thing, doing the actual thing is so fucking important because, like you said, win, lose, or draw, especially if you lose though, you have that pain, that uncomfortability of going through that circumstance and not knowing how to operate in that space. But once you go through that, you learn something very important, which is what not to do. And when you read a book, it might tell you what not to do. But when you go through something, that thing that you experienced that one time that struck you with so much awe and confusion and embarrassment, that sticks with you for fucking ever. And I guarantee you're going to keep that thing of what not to do with you way longer than that sentence in that book on that page by that author.
There's a story behind every sentence in every chapter of every book. But there's always an author. And you, my friend, are the author of your own book. Whether you be an entrepreneur, whether you be... Hang on. There we go. Whether you be an entrepreneur, whether you be a mother or a father, whether you be a brother or a sister, whether you be an athlete, whether you be a friend or a foe, whatever it is that you might do, there is always a story to be written. And on that note, the AM Club podcast.
Mic check. The AM Club podcast.